to Janette's TV and Janette's TV podcast. I'm your host, Janette Burke. Today, I am joined by Jill Lublin. She is a publicity strategist and coach and 4-time book author. You can probably see that in the back. And we welcome her to the show today. How are you doing, Jill?
Thank you, Janette. I'm doing terrific.
That's good. And you look terrific. Jill, you're a woman entrepreneur. What do you have to say about being a woman entrepreneur, and how can we have more women entrepreneurs?
You know, it's always been interesting because I've often been the woman who somehow breaks the glass ceiling. I started in the music business. When I spoke on Tony Robbins' stage, I was one of 24 speakers and the only woman, which I thought was interesting. So you know what I did? I went out and bought a dress. That wasn't what I was planning for that event, but I went out because I thought, well, it's important to be a woman, being a woman doing business. And, you know, I think we have sometimes a little bit more uphill battle. I mean, from a publicity standpoint, I think women are afraid to promote themselves. As you know, men have an easier time on that. But I'm delighted to be a woman in this wonderful world of business.
Mm-hmm. And so you hit on a point that I was going to delve into a bit further, that, you know, publicity is a necessity in business. I don't think it's a luxury. It's a necessity. And women are afraid to step up and be seen and be heard and be known, maybe for cultural reasons, maybe for other reasons. But also there is another side of that coin, which is sometimes the media itself does not feature enough women. Can you comment on that and give us some tips on how we could combat that?
And I think that's right on, Janette. And I'm so glad that you're doing TV and providing a wonderful media opportunity for people. And that is what we're doing here, right? And I think that women need to be heard, your voice, to be seen, to be heard, to be paid. And one way to do that, obviously, is publicity and getting yourself out there in simple ways where people can recognize you, respond to you, connect to you. Media is so powerful. I always like to think of it as the gift that keeps on giving. So really important that you get started with small steps. For some of you, you know, pick a podcast that looks, well, good to do and simple. You know, start small with whatever you're comfortable with. Start on audio if you're afraid of video yet. You know, really, it's really about practice, and practice does make perfect. And it's about progress, not perfection. And I think that's might be where some women get stopped too. Everything does not have to be perfect and completely done, including everything about you, your message. You know, you practice as you go. And of course, one thing I would say, being a publicity expert, is have your message down as much as you can, get it focused. And I like you to focus on the problem today. And then what 3 solutions do you recommend? Because you remember that you're the expert. So you always want to provide value and benefit. And even in this, notice I'm giving you publicity tips, right? They're simple. And that's what I want all of you to do. Keep simple and speak in 5-year-old language.
Now, Jill, because you are a publicity strategist and an expert and a coach, first of all, how did you get into that? And the next part of that question is, I want to talk heavily about what you feel is essential in PR strategy, what a client should know going in.
Yeah.
But first, tell us how you got into it.
Thank you. So I kind of fell into it, you know, like some of us, you know, my road was a certain path, and it was actually to go to law school. And I made it into law school, and I was very happy about that. I got into a great one. And then oh my gosh, this is not for me, which was very disappointing. It's very linear. It's not, my brain's more creative, which makes me wonderful in PR, not so great in law school. And I dropped out. And then my father, freaking out, said, well, what is it you're going to do? And I said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And
I have a similar background story, but go on.
Oh, that's great. And I remember he said, well, what is it and how do you spell it? You know, entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm still learning what it is, but I do know how to spell it now. And, it's a journey. Entrepreneurship is a journey. And I've always been in publicity. I've been lucky to find a lane that I enjoyed. I started my career in the music business, which was a great way to get started because, boy, there's nothing like the music business to be all about perception. That's really what it is. It's all about perception. And I
Mhm.
love that. I stayed in that for 5 years doing publicity and promotion related activities. Started my own PR agency. That was great. Moved into consulting and speaking and training and my own media podcast. So, like everything, I think it's an evolution. And I think the point is to begin somewhere, but to know that your journey in entrepreneurship, your journey with publicity. I like to say it's like a gardening process, and we have to plant seeds for where we are now. Plant seeds, especially this is a tip for all of you today, and then looking ahead 3, 6, 9 months. What do you want to create? How do you want to flower your career? And think about what places do you want to get into? Like to me, it's always great being in Entrepreneur Magazine and Forbes and Inc. Right? Those are high level, very powerful places to be. They take a little bit of planning and planting your garden and growing it and seeding it. So I think that's a piece is look ahead and be present also right now. So that wonderful tip is, listen, I look on my phone every day for headlines. And I'm like, okay, where can me or some of my publicity clients fit in to these headlines? So, we're coming up on a big election. Listen, I had a dating coach on Fox News consistently, I mean, from morning to night, talking really fabulous, like a Fox tour. And what was she talking about? Can a Democrat date a Republican? And can a Republican date a Democrat? She's a dating coach. Turns out, by the way, they can if they talk, if they speak and communicate well. But I mean, that's a great publicity piece and a great way to think about the difference in your story and how to get in right now with what's relevant for right now.
Okay, so but many entrepreneurs think that getting publicity is something with not within their realm, right? Either for cost or what have you. But um I think there's some specific steps that or things that need to be in place before you go out and just get publicity. So one of those things might be knowing not just your message and your hooks and your angles, but what magazines or what media might be interested in actually covering your story. When you take on a client, what is the criteria and what is the process that they undergo, either having you represent them or learning how to represent themselves?
So I am really at this point in my career all about having people, what would I say, empowered to actually get it done themselves without
Mhm,
expensive PR agencies.
mhm.
And unless you want to spend 5,000 a month at least to have a PR agency, I dedicated myself to now helping entrepreneurs find easy ways to get in media. So I run media mastery intensives, very affordable, like get her done publicity. So a couple things I think are important. Yes, like you say, getting clear on your message, beautiful. That's important. Having some confidence to step up and step out. Sometimes that's a mindset shift. The truth is, you are all ready for publicity. I mean, if you're in business, honestly, you better be doing some visibility building activities and put yourself out there. And publicity is the easiest way to reach a broad amount of people fast and simple. And I think that's really, good bang for your buck, right? It's just really about reaching a lot of people quickly and having the influence and the impact and the contribution that most of you want to have. Publicity is a wonderful vehicle to do that. So I think, it doesn't, again, I'm going to go back to that perfection thing because I think people get too in their head or this has to be a certain way. I've had people go on Oprah who had hardly any publicity training, but we did a quick session. Here's what to say in what order, and here's your script, and here's how to appear. I coached a man on Larry King. Now, I mean, before he went on Larry King, for how to smile and promote and present himself in better ways. And by the way, he was very already high up there. And I've worked with people really at the start of their career. Wow, what do I do to stand out? And there's great local things to do that help elevate your status and your celebrity. And I use that term very lightly because I'm a big believer that you're all experts, and media needs experts, and they want you and they need you. So stepping out is important.
So let's talk about something else, because I feel that you could really lend some good advice on this. So visibility, obviously, we're in agreement, is essential as an entrepreneur and an expert needs. But there is a difference between being visible in the media and on podcasts and being visible on a stage. Now, you've done both. And I want you to comment on the differences and like where you could advise, for example, a speaker who may think that because they're great on stage or their speech is wonderful, they're automatically going to make for a good interviewee, which is not always the case. And in fact, most cases is not. So can you comment on that and how, the two things are distinct, and where one begins and one ends, and maybe some of the changes you would have to be adaptable to be a good interviewee when you also think you're a good speaker?
Yeah, and by the way, that same holds true with authors. Authors, many of them can write, but frankly, don't put them in front of a camera. Speakers have a little more finesse because they understand how to articulate, which is helpful. And I think that's important. Yes, and you're right. I mean, listen, translating in TV, knowing, in fact, this was really funny at my media mastery intensive. There's a part where they can actually pitch the media, which is super fun, and people actually walk away with interviews. And one of the media people said to one of my participants, she said, "Could you please get a new chair, because your swivel chair is really distracting to me," right? If we go like this in media, I mean, you have to know certain elements about keeping your posture and where to place your hands. I mean, there's simple things. I don't overthink them, but I do think certain things are important. And like honestly, like clunky jewelry that starts whipping against microphones doesn't work on TV. Fancy jewelry might work on speaking, but you have to translate certain things to TV that aren't quite as crazy excessive. And really what we're focused on is your message, and you're translating your message. I think that's important. But honestly, I think every speaker and every author, and frankly every business person, needs some media coaching, needs some up leveling, including, by the way, me. I've gotten it too, and I've been in this business for a while. And this is why I think, we're all looking, I hope, to be better. And you always want to translate as well as you can everywhere you are, right? So there's some specifics around TV, and I think it includes some of those things we talked about, and those are helpful.
Well, we're in agreement on that, because obviously I do media training. Now, not every PR person does on camera or media training, as it's otherwise referred to. A lot of PR people put the client on a show and give them no training, right? So I think that's very remiss. Can you comment on that? And where can they get the training so that they don't blow the golden opportunity for publicity and exposure that they might never get back?
Yeah, and I think it's remiss too. And I'm so glad you do this. And I think it's important, right? How do you show up? What are you saying? I mean, my focus is really on messaging and getting the interviews, right? But you got to show up well. And listen, here's my truth, Janette. I'm very big on just say yes to media interviews. And then, yes, go ahead and get the training. You'll have time in between, usually, by time you even book a show. So please, again, this perfection thing, it's a journey. Go where you are right now. Take the steps, go in the small things, keep building bigger. But bottom line is get the experience, and then you'll see, go review your media, make sure that it's looking good, and that you're looking good, and that your angles are good, and all of the fun things that are important in media. So I think, I mean, especially with today's world of backgrounds, which is wonderful. And yeah, I'm going to have my books here because I'm promoting my books, right? I'm promoting the JillLublin.com. I'm promoting different things that are key. So I think for all of us, decide what it is you want to promote. Make sure that there's something in your visual, if you're on TV or podcasts that have video, make sure you have something that indicates what you do.
That's if the actual media outlet allows for that, because they don't always like a virtual background, nor do they always allow for a promotion of a book cover unless they specifically ask for it. Is that not correct?
Well, one of the things
You have to watch what the requirements are.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially on the bigger shows, usually they will have something called the Chiron under your name, and there is where you could say whatever it is, speaker, author, comma. Like if I'm being interviewed on guerrilla publicity, I'll say author, comma, guerrilla publicity. But it's not like a long thing, and they will ask you, what do you want under your name, or how would you like to be introduced? You can ask if it's TV show, do you have a blue screen where they will flash your website typically, but sometimes they won't. And sometimes they don't want you to do that. So you have to be respectful always.
And you actually co-authored with J. Conrad Levinson, who is like guerrilla publicity. He's one of the biggest PR guys out there. What was it like to work with him, and what did you learn in that experience?
Oh, Jay, well, may he rest in peace. Such a beautiful man. He really, what would I say, piloted the whole Guerrilla series, which is really the orientation is about doing things in a simple way, in a focused, with what he calls imagination and creativity. And Jay actually came out of the world of advertising. He was really big in advertising, and he discovered ways that people could get known and seen using guerrilla publicity, right? Using alternative ways. And Jay is just, he was a sweetheart. He generous, helping people every way he could. He was very successful. He traveled all over the world giving wonderful seminars. And I always loved Jay because he taught me things like, well, when I negotiate to give a seminar in another place that I want to go, I'll negotiate a few more nights hotel rooms so I can enjoy them. And, he knew how to live life well and lived a good life. And I'm just so grateful that we've always been connected. And he's just a kind and wonderful man.
Okay, so as we're going to near out the interview, but I have a couple of questions I want to ask before that happens. And one of them is, what are some things that are absolutely not acceptable in media that clients should be aware of before they go and push their luck?
Yes. Okay, so a couple things. Number one, I mean, when somebody says, send me X, and, the truth is media is on deadline. So like, don't mess around. Don't wait. I mean, get stuff to them. Do it quickly. I would tell you also, don't, how would I say this? Well, look like what you're sending them, like make sure that all of your materials match and they're authentic and congruent. I think that's really important. You don't over promote if you're on certain shows. I mean, again, this has to be cleared. What does the media person want? What are they highlighting? And, please understand, the media knows you're there to promote. So it's a fine line and there's a little bit of a dance and it's delicate. And I think the best way is just to ask the question, are you going to mention my website or my free gift, for instance, or should I, right? And I think on most podcasts, you're allowed to do that, give away a free gift. I think that's a beautiful thing. So that's key. Make sure that you're giving value and benefit. That will prevent the over promotion piece.
Okay, so now that you brought it up, I'm going to give you a little shameless promotion on my TV show here, my podcast, TV show and podcast, and ask you to give us your website so we can go and learn more about you, and also tell us anything you have coming up. We already have your books in the background, but you can mention those too. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. See, she just gave me permission. That's a beautiful thing. And thank you, Janette. So first of all, go check out JillLublin.com. It's on the screen for the spelling, JillLublin.com. And
it will be in our links too in the show notes, and it'll be edited in as well. So go ahead.
Thank you so much. And then the other thing I'd love to invite you to is I've created a free gift for all of you. It is a fabulous action guide, which gives you even more publicity tips and a free publicity masterclass, live and interactive with me. So you go to publicitycrashcourse.com/free gift. Please get that, and I will see you live on Zoom. That'd be super fun.
Okay, and I'll be sure to include that link as well for any of you watching who would like to join into that masterclass. Now, one last question before we close out, and I like to end with a zinger. You know how they say, you have to be prepared for your media interviews. You never know what you could be asked, right? Not always are you given the questions in advance. So my zinger question to you is this. What is one type of publicity you've always wanted to have but never got? And how would you get it if you had the chance?
Wow. Ooh, that's a zinger. I love that. Okay. I would tell you probably a big national show. I would love the opportunity. I've done a lot of ABC, NBC, CBS local affiliates all around, and including international. But what would be exciting for me actually is to have an ongoing segment. And I did it actually locally. I called it the Connecting Minute. It was super wonderful. In Santa Rosa, California, I was actually inside of a business show, and that was terrific. But I would like to have, those 1 minutes like Dr. Dina Dell, and they come on and they give you some wise wisdom. I think that would be super fun, and have a syndicated like 1 minute. I like quick and focused and easy. I think it's what would I call digestible by people. So that's what I would love to do. That, and okay, I wish I'd been on Oprah. Just saying.
Don't we all? Okay, well, then thank you very much, Jill. It's been riveting. And I want to thank you, my wonderful audience, for joining in today. Please remember to like, comment, and share all our posts with your family and friends. You will find us everywhere: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Vimeo. That's the TV side. On the audio podcast side, you will find us on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, BuzzFeed, and that list goes on. For a complete list of where to watch and listen to us, please check the link in the show notes below. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That link is also below. And until next time, continue to be fabulous. This is Janette Burke, your host, signing off.